Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not going to speak for 10 minutes, but I do want to call attention to an example of breathtaking hypocrisy that I'm not proud of. You know, we all understand in a social contract that the price of living in an organized society is giving up some of our hard-earned money. That's why we pay taxes. Nobody likes paying taxes, but we understand that taxes are necessary to pay our teachers, build our roads, defend our country, help those who are less fortunate than us. And we've set up a pretty good apparatus to go after you if you don't pay your taxes. I mean, if you don't pay your taxes or you don't pay them in the right amount and you don't pay them on time, they've got people trained in the IRS. I'm not criticizing them. They're just doing their job, but they will chase you like a hound from Hades till you pay. And that's the law, and we're all supposed to abide by it. But what happens when the department in which the IRS is centered won't follow the same rule? I'm talking about the Department of Treasury. The IRS is under the Department of Treasury. Now, what's good for the goose is supposed to be good for the gander. The United States Department of Treasury is sitting on $26 billion, not million, billion dollars, that's 9 zeros, of matured, unclaimed savings bonds that belong to the people of this country. And they have the names, and they have the addresses. And you know what they're doing to try to contact these Americans? Nothing. Zero. Nada. Zilch. They just sit there holding on to the money. Now, you know what a savings bond is, Mr. President. We couldn't have won World War II without savings bonds. A lot of Americans took their hard-earned money and they bought savings bonds. And you know how it works, Mr. President. I'm just making these numbers up, but you go buy a savings bond, you give the federal government, you own the federal government $100. You don't get an interest check every month. You don't get anything every month. You've given up $100, and in 2 years you go back in and you redeem your bond, and it's now worth $200. In the meantime, the federal government gets this loan. They use your money. But when that 20 years is up, the bond matures. It doesn't pay interest anymore. Now, some people lose their bonds. Some people forget about their bonds. Some people pass on and their kids inherit their bonds. They're lost. But you can always count on the Department of Treasury to keep a list of who owns bonds and which ones have been redeemed and which ones haven't. And the U.S. Department of Treasury has that list. And there are millions of Americans whose names are on that list. And they got names and addresses. And they don't do anything to give the money back. They just stand over there sucking on their teeth. I mean, let me give you some examples. We're talking real money here. I'll just pick a couple out. New Jersey, $695 million belongs to the people of New Jersey. Not the politicians in New Jersey, not the government, the people the Treasury's holding. Let me see if I can find Washington State, $560 million that belongs to the people of Washington State. not the big dogs, not the mayors, not the real people who get up every day and go to work and obey the law and pay their taxes. Let's see, Hawaii, $113 million. In my state, Louisiana, $337 million. Here's $3 billion in California. But we're going to get up in the morning, and the IRS, they're just doing their job. You better pay your taxes. They'll take your firstborn. But when they got $26 billion of the American people's money, you can't find them with a search party. And it's not right. It's not right. Now, I sued them when I was state treasurer. And I got a bunch of other state treasurers to sue them too. I don't like suing people. But the Department of Treasury has spent tens of millions of dollars fighting the American people. They just don't want to give the money back. And you wonder why people hate government. I've got a bill to try to do something about it. It's not personal. I think the world of our Treasury Secretary. I'd think a whole lot better of him if he'd start writing checks to the American people. And I'm not going to give up on this issue, because it's all we're asking is that the Treasury Department share the names with the states. Every state has an unclaimed property program. They got a great one in Washington, great one in Hawaii. Usually it's the state treasurer. They know how to get money back to people. They don't charge a fee. Right is right, and this is wrong. The Department of Treasury needs to give the money back. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I suggest the absence of a quorum.